Hi everybody, it's Sabrina. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new here. Today I plan on talking about the book I'm just recently finished, and that book was The Song of Achilles. So that's what I'm going to be talking about in today's video, just giving a little bit of a brief summary of the plot of the book, without spoilers. I might, towards the end of the video, give a little bit of spoilers, but I'll kind of let you guys know when that is, so that way, if you haven't read the book and you don't want spoilers, you can kind of just not watch the rest of the video. But I will be giving a little bit of a summary of the plot of the book, and then kind of just my thoughts and, my rating of the book. So, The Song of Achilles, it is about Greek mythology, so that's really the reason I picked this, is I really enjoyed ancient history, Greek mythology. Growing up, history was one of my favorite topics in school, actually, oddly enough. I know a lot of people think history is boring, but I actually really liked it, especially ancient history, like ancient, Greek mythology and things like that. I also read the Percy Jackson series growing up, which was also based around Greek mythology, and I just found it really interesting. So, on BookTube, I had heard a lot of people talking about this book. I heard them saying good things about it. They said it was a good book. So I decided to go ahead and kind of give it a try. Basically, what the book is about, it is about the main character his name is Patroclus, and he is exiled because he gets in a fight, very young. He gets in a fight with this other noble's son, and he pushes him over and he accidentally kills him. Totally an accident, but because of this he gets exiled, shunned by his family, and he gets sent to kind of another king to kind of live in their kingdom. And at this other kingdom he meets Achilles, who is of course the prince of the kingdom. He is that father's son, or the king's son, and he is basically half god. His father is human. He's, like I said, he's the king, but his father had a relationship with the sea nymph, which is basically, I guess, like a god. And so Achilles is portrayed to have these, superhuman powers. He's still a mortal man, but he has these extra powers, fighting abilities, and things like that. He's super graceful, quick on his feet, that kind of stuff. Good warrior, good fighter. Him and Patroclus build up a relationship. They get sent as they get older to work with Chiron, who is forgot the name of the creature, but he is a half man, half horse. I can't remember what it's called, but he gets sent to work with them. They kind of shows them the ropes on, how different herbs work as far as medicine and healing people. They teach about how to use certain weapons and things like that. As he gets older, there's this war that's happening or about to happen against Troy, and his mother doesn't want him to fight in this war. There is a prophecy that he will die, that he will, become one of the greatest warriors, of all time, but basically that in the process of this war and fighting against the most powerful soldier of the other kingdom, that soldier will die first. But once he does die, his name is Hector, by the way, once he does die, that Achilles will die shortly after. And him and Patroclus are kind of trying to find a way to kind of avoid this prophecy. Patroclus is madly in love with Achilles and says that if Achilles, dies, that he won't be shortly afterwards, that he will shortly follow him. And, he asks Achilles, well, are you going to kill Hector? Or, and Achilles says, well, why would I? I don't have anything against him. So they basically kind of come up with this agreement that they're not going to, or he's not going to kill Hector, so that way he can kind of, avoid the fate of this prophecy, so to speak. So the war goes on for a really long time, and it just kind of talks about, their relationship together. Achilles is fighting in this war. He also wins these women, and in order to save them from going to people who might kind of be not so kind to them, other men, him and Patroclus kind of have them take them as a prize and kind of just let them live peacefully with them. And Patroclus grows really close to one of them. Her name is Briseis. Her and Patroclus kind of over time start to develop a close relationship, but basically, you know, Patroclus is with Achilles, and you know, he has feelings for Briseis, it portrays it, but that he won't act upon them because, you know, he's kind of in this relationship with Achilles. And but basically my thoughts on the book, I thought it was good. I liked it. I think that Patroclus and Achilles' relationship was a bit toxic. It's almost portrayed like Patroclus is like kind of unhealthily obsessed with Achilles, in my opinion. You know, he views him as being perfect, and that, you know, he doesn't really have any flaws, and that he's just this godly creature. And I didn't really like that that much. I mean, Achilles was also very madly in love with Patroclus. Like, you can tell it went both ways, but it just seems even more so from Patroclus' side, just because he seems to be the main character of the story, that he's kind of the one telling the story. So definitely a little bit of, I think, overly toxicness in the relationship. And definitely over time, Achilles, you know, him being this great warrior, he, I think, becomes, and this is kind of the moral of the story, overridden with his pride, where, you know, he can't put his pride aside for things, and he almost becomes a little bit more cruel. He used to kind of be this really caring and, you know, kind child that, you know, that Patroclus fell in love with. And over time, you know, his pride kind of gets in the way of things, and he grows a little bit more hardened and, you know, not as kind and caring as he used to be. So if I had to give this book a rating, I would say probably 4 stars. So again, very good book. Some things I didn't really like about the book, like I said, I just thought the relationship was a little toxic, overly dependent on each other, and I think that it at parts just seemed a little bit dragged out, but overall, I still very much enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong, this was a great book. I really liked it. Those were just a couple of things that I thought maybe could have been better, or I guess improved. As far as spoilers, I will kind of get into that now. So if you want to read this book and you haven't read it yet and you don't want to know what happens at the end, I would skip the rest of this video. But basically at the end, Achilles decides, he gets in this fight with the leader of the army and his pride. So he doesn't want to fight because he feels like he'll be giving into the king's demands, or the leader of the army's demand, and it goes against his pride. So he's trying to stand his ground, but really the whole army, all of the Greeks, come to hate him and loathe him because he refuses to fight for them. He, you know, almost has this air of superiority and just being really full of himself, and because of that, that's kind of his downfall. At one point, Patroclus, while the war is going on, Patroclus is healing all of these men, and so Achilles is kind of the warrior in the relationship. He goes out and fight, and he kills men, and Patroclus heals the men in the Greek army. You know, they come back with injuries, and he's more of like the healer and the nurturing one, I guess that you could say, in the relationship. So he has a really hard time seeing these men that he's built up a relationship with, that he's been healing and caring for, you know, kind of die and suffer, and because Achilles refuses to fight for them. And he also sees that these men are starting to build up a resentment towards Achilles, and he's worried about Achilles' reputation being tarnished. Because really, that's the main thing, I guess, in Achilles' mind, is that he knows he's going to die. He knows he's going to die in this war, but he wants to die knowing that he's going to basically have a legacy, and he's going to be remembered as this great, you know, powerful warrior and this really important person to the Greeks. So Patroclus kind of sees that things are kind of starting to head in another direction, that, you know, his pride is getting in the way of, you know, proper thoughts and judgment as far as his reputation, that he's really going to be remembered as being this stubborn a-hole, for a better way of saying it. And so Patroclus convinces Achilles. He says, "Let me put on your armor. ride in a chariot with the soldiers, and, you know, everyone will think it's you, and your reputation will be saved. You still can hold your ground. The king will still know it was me and it wasn't you. So it's not like you're going against, you know, you're still holding your ground. You're not going against what you originally said, but your reputation amongst the rest of the Greeks will be saved because they'll think that this was you. And originally, Achilles is hesitant because he knows that Patroclus is by no means a warrior. He's afraid of him getting hurt. And so he's like, well, kind of hesitant about it. And Achilles says, I don't need to fight. He said, just seeing you. They'll see me coming, they'll think I'm you, and they'll be terrified, and they're just going to run off. So he gives a stipulation to Achilles that he's not going to fight. And so Achilles agrees, and he lets him go. But unfortunately, Patroclus gets a little bit too into the act. He starts throwing some spears. He hits. He sees some men fall. He kind of gets excited, and, you know, I think, you know, kind of is trying to keep up this act of him, you know, being Achilles. And he comes into contact with Hector, which again is this famous warrior from Troy, you know, the opposite side of the war. He's their best soldier, and unfortunately, Hector ends up killing Patroclus. And so again, Achilles finds out that Patroclus dies, and they bring Patroclus's body back to him. He finds out he passed away. He's very heartbroken. So he kind of gets back involved in the war again. He wants revenge on Hector. He gets that revenge, and then Hector's son or his brother, I don't know, someone from Hector's family ends up shooting Achilles in the heel, you know, Achilles' heel, Achilles' vulnerable spot, and then Achilles ends up passing away as well. At one point, Achilles had a son who now is kind of taking Achilles' place. Achilles wants to be buried with Patroclus. He wants their ashes to be mixed together. They only mark on the gravestone Achilles. They don't mark Patroclus because Achilles' son is worried that it's going to ruin Achilles' reputation, basically, that his companion was a man and not a woman. He has a hard time accepting that. His son is portrayed to be very cruel and, you know, just not a good person. The gravestone as it being Achilles' gravestone, and so Patroclus is kind of lost, I guess, that you can't go down to the underworld unless you have your name on the tombstone. I don't know, but eventually Achilles' mom, who hated him the whole book, who really did not like Patroclus, agrees to kind of write Patroclus's name on the tombstone, and then, you know, he goes to the underworld, and him and Achilles are reunited, and that's kind of how the book ends. So definitely sad towards the ending. I did shed a little bit of a few tears, but I didn't really sob or think it was overly, you know, sad or anything like that. I will say, going into it, I didn't know that the romance was going to be a big part of the book. I didn't realize, like, it was going to focus so much on, you know, the romance between Achilles and Patroclus. I will say it wasn't overly, like, spicy. I mean, it hinted at it, you know, all throughout the book, but it didn't really go into depth about it or anything like that. But I was just kind of surprised by that, because I guess I just didn't realize that going into the book, and I guess I didn't really look too much into what the book was about going into it, to be honest with you. I just heard it was about ancient Greek mythology. I heard it was about, you know, Achilles. I heard it was good, and so I just decided to read it. So, you know, just something to think about going into it. That's kind of a big focus of the book. So, but yeah, overall, definitely liked it. Thought it was good. Didn't think it was perfect. Thought there were some things that could have been better. But yeah, definitely a good read, and would definitely recommend. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll see you again in another one. Bye.